Second episode of On the Fence with Business. I hope everyone was able to tune in last Thursday with our special guest, Taylor Durham from the Wharton Business School. I hope everybody loved what they heard and they came back to tune in again this Thursday for our special guest, Les Brown. Uh, I want to thank him for coming on my show as my second guest to kick off this new business podcast. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a long time, and I'm glad that I was finally able to do so. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Les Brown. Les Brown is a father, a serial entrepreneur, and traveler. He is the founder of Elite Claims Adjuster, public adjusting firm for New Jersey and Pennsylvania. He loves to help his community by empowering them to understand and use resources available to them. Les, I'll let you continue to tell your story to the people that are listening.
Hello, how's everybody doing? I'm Les Brown, and I'm an entrepreneur. Currently, one of my main businesses is I'm a public adjuster. And a lot of people some people may have heard of a public adjuster, some people may not. So just a brief understanding of what that is I'm licensed by the state of New Jersey and Pennsylvania to represent homeowners or business owners if they have a claim for homeowners insurance or business insurance. I work 100% on a contingency fee basis, which means there's nothing out of pocket that you ever have to pay me. And my role is to represent you in that claim to make sure that your house or business is put back to pre-loss condition and that the claim is maximized and that the insurance company is held accountable for the language in the policy to make sure that you are paid out the maximum amount.
Sounds very interesting. I'm sure that many people may not know what a public adjuster is, and I think that that was an excellent introduction to your craft. Um, how did you get into public adjusting? Was this your first business ever?
No, not at all. I mean, I've had businesses, or hustle since I was a little kid. But I was in corporate America for 14 years, rising up through the ranks, and I loved what I did, but I knew I could do more, and I wanted to find out how far I could go. So I left corporate America, and I had always sold things on eBay. So I went to China, Guangzhou, China, and Shabelu for 30 days. And I started a manufacture business making women's clothes and shoes and other items, and wholesaling, importing, exporting while in China. And while I came back here, I opened a store, local brick and mortar, and I sold on various platforms online. And I loved it. I love designing. I love selling. But as we all know, things changed with coronavirus. So I was not able to return to China and continue the manufacturing with a hands-on approach. So I just happened to go on a random job interview, and they didn't even put what the actual role was, which kind of attracted me to it. I was intrigued, and it was public adjusting. And I worked as an independent contractor doing primarily sales. And after about a month, a gentleman reached out to me from Instagram. He seen me posting, and basically, after talking to him, if I would have had my own business, I would have made, you know, 10 times the amount of money I would as than I would working with this independent firm.
Mm.
So, I asked him to be my mentor, and he did. He took me under his wing, and I started Elite Claims Adjusters, and I haven't looked back since.
Mm. Now that's a dynamic story for me. I know that there are many business owners who fall into entrepreneurship, and although that is not your story, but a new business fell in your lap. I personally think that the pandemic brought about a lot of different changes in people's lives, having them tap into their abilities, using their skills if they were laid off, and no longer wanting to be at a employer's beck and call, that if
Yes.
another pandemic happened or a recession, that they are able to make money with what they have currently, or what they can get their hands on. So could you actually go into detail about the various types of insurance? I know that a lot of times, we hear the word insurance thrown around a lot. Home insurance. You want to sign up for rental insurance, health insurance, but I think people do it as just a default to have it and to cover them, but don't really know, what really goes into it and why it's important to just have insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a kind of a afterthought or something that you just have to do. But with insurance, you have primarily for homeowners, residential homeowners. If you own your home, you have homeowners insurance, which is basically called dwelling insurance. It protects your dwelling, and or if you have a shed or a fence, it'll cover basically your home. You also have renters insurance, which very is underutilized tremendously. Um, you can have renters insurance no matter what your living situation is. It could be you can live with your parents and have it. You can live in a apartment. You could be on Section 8. It doesn't matter. And then you also have commercial, and there's various different types of commercial depending on what type of business you have. You can have co-insurance. Um, you can have regular business insurance. If you have a restaurant, it depends on the type of business, and it will be specific to you. But those are the main types: are regular homeowners insurance, residential, renters insurance, and the various types of commercial. The reason that it's important is because things always are going to happen, and when they do, it's a devastating situation. If it's your home, that's somewhere that you live, your personal items are there, the things that you care about, it's where you live. It's important. And same thing with your business. That's your primary source of income. So you want to make
Correct.
sure that you understand what type of insurance you have, what type of insurance you need in case those emergencies happen, because you only can be prepared if you have the proper policy. Because if you're unfortunately your business catches on fire, nobody goes through that drill of what to do if your business goes on fire. Nobody goes over that with you. Or if you have a major sewer loss in your house, it's hard to be prepared for those things. So at least knowing that you're covered and that you can put your house back to how it was before that happened, having that peace of mind, I think, is priceless.
Definitely, most definitely. I believe that since we're on the topic of the pandemic, many people told people, business owners, when the looting was happening, oh, you shouldn't be mad because you have insurance. Even these big owners or big department stores, you have insurance, so you shouldn't be mad, just put a claim in. So can you kind of like talk about if vandalism or like flood, is in a lot of policies?
Vandalism is it's hit or miss, to be honest with you. It depends on, was that something that you discussed when you set up this policy, or did someone put it in there? Because it's hit or miss. But even if it is in there, insurance is it's a legal contract that you have with the insurance company. So vandalism is a legal term in the insurance world. So if one person comes by and throws a brick, that may not be vandalism. Um, so it has to fit under the definition of what vandalism is. And some carriers may interpret that language differently than other carriers. So sometimes it may have to be a group of people, a seven or more, that was in that area that caused that for it to be covered. So it really depends on the language in your contract. But it's something that you definitely want to, when you're signing up for insurance, or if you have insurance now, it's something that you want to look over on your policy to make sure that you do have it. So that if you are covered, and then, you want to speak to a professional to make sure that you understand the language of what exactly falls under vandalism.
Correct. And if you're not familiar with vandalism, you definitely want to look it up, look at the different various types as it pertains to your home, your car. I'm sure we all heard about someone who might have had their home vandalized or their car vandalized and found themselves in a crappy situation or between a rock and a hard place trying to figure out what to do. Question. So, do you find that people do not read their policies until it is too late? Or, dig it out, don't really dust it off until they need it?
Yes, but even more than that, even when they do dust it off, they're just looking for the policy number for when they call in. They're still not going to look at it. They're going to leave it in the hands of the insurance company and or whoever else they hire. And so I find that most people never, even if a situation happens, they're intimidated by it because once again, nobody's really sitting down, going over that with you. And that's one thing as a public adjuster. And I take pride in this. I will go over anybody's policy. I was at a party last Saturday, just a friend's birthday party, and I was going over policies right at the party because I think it's important. And I do it free of charge because I'm a public servant and I work for the public. Um, and just to give a brief breakdown of what to look for on your policy, there's three main things. The first thing is your dwelling, and there's going to be an amount for that, and that's normally going to be the largest amount. The dwelling is if your house or business was, you know, totally lost, a total loss. So if you have for your home, you should have an understanding of what the value of your home is or business, and that number should be close to that. So that if it's a total loss, you have enough to rebuild your business or your home. The next is going to be your contents. The contents are your clothes, your shoes, your TVs, computers, um, all your personal items. So, once again, if there was a total loss, how much money do you have to rebuild your whole wardrobe, your furniture, all your business equipment? That's your contents. That is extremely important. And the third, I would say, major thing is loss of use. So you no longer, once again, it's a total loss. You no longer have access to your home. It was a fire or a sewage loss, and you can't live there anymore, or your business can no longer function. So for the homeowners, this would be the time that you can spend in a hotel and or a family members. You can anytime outside of your home, they're going to compensate you for this. And sometimes some policies say, it's for 9 months and it's unlimited. Some may have a numeric value. So that's very important because it may take, 9 months or a year to rebuild your house. And if you don't have a certain amount, it's gonna hurt. And if there's multiple people in your home, if you have a large family, then those funds can be used up quick. So you want to make sure that you have enough. And the same thing with a business. When you're out of business, you have loss of use as well. So you will be paid. There'll be a mathematical equation done by an forensic accountant, and that is the amount of money. So if you were making your net profit is X amount, you would receive that until your business is rebuilt. Another thing that I failed to mention is also for renters insurance is for the owner of the home to make sure that people that live there, that's renting there, have renters insurance and that you have a commercial policy based on that as well. Because if something happens and you lose your tenants, your mortgage is still going to be due. So you want to make sure that the mortgage company covers that. And also, your tenants are going to be looking to you rightfully or not rightfully for somewhere to live. So if they have renters insurance, their policy can kick in and they'll have somewhere to live under that as well. So those are the main three things: dwelling, contents, and loss of use. Within the last 3 weeks, a apartment complex caught on fire. So about six, actually the whole everybody was displaced. But immediately, about six homes, six apartments were just burnt completely. And one of my clients, and I know her personally, her policy, and it sounds like it's a lot, $25,000. But when you have to rebuild everything as far as your wardrobe, your clothes, your PlayStation, $25,000 is unfortunately it's not going to be enough if you have X amount of years, 20 years worth of items. Some of these items you may have gotten from overseas when you traveled. They may have sentimental value, or they may be things that you just purchased last week. So it's important because the insurance company is only going to give you that amount. There's nothing left. That's it. There's really no sympathy or empathy, and you're going to have to fight to even get that amount in full. Um, you know, and also I see a lot of times where, and I've seen this situation where I had someone have a lot of contents money, so they're good on the contents, but their dwelling was severely lacking. So they had to put their house back together. They didn't have any more money to put their house back together. So it was lopsided, and you need somewhere to live. That's why dwelling is the most important one. So the contractors, they're not. This is not charity when they're putting your house back together. If you don't have the money, you know, they're going on to the next job, and it's a difficult thing. But the insurance company is not going to say, "Well, here goes some more money so you can finish putting your house back together." That's not going to happen. And same thing with your contents. If you don't have enough money, you know, it's just unfortunately it's just really too bad.
So I see you use the word content. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, contents are your personal items. It's going to be your clothes, your stereo, your computers, uh, TVs. You know, um, I have a record collection, so it would be my records, my pots and pans, my bedding, my bed, my couches, my clocks. Pretty much anything that's your personal items that you have purchased are your contents.
Do you find that people price them fairly, or they inflate them to get more?
Well, there's two different types of insurance that you are going to come across. And it's if you have a loss, it's either going to be the replacement value or the actual value. So, of course, people are going to want to inflate to get the most money. But if you have actual value, that jacket you got that you love, that's really nice, that you paid $300 for, after 5 years, it's worth $20, and that's what they're going to give you, $20. First, the replacement cost, they're going to give you the amount that it costs to replace that item, which would be closer than what you paid for it. Um, either way, Either way, based on most policies, you're going to have something called depreciation. So, say the amount that you get is, $100,000 worth of contents. The insurance company is going to say, "Here goes a check for $50,000. You won't get the other 50 until you purchase all those other items, $50,000 worth. And then as you buy them, you send us the receipts and we'll send you a check." So unless you have a really good policy, nine times out of 10, they're going to give you a third of the money or half of the money. And you're going to have to go purchase those items, send in receipts to get the rest of the money.
Understood. And what a bad policy is?
A bad policy is one that, in my interpretation, that I see is that it's basically when you called up and just said, "I need insurance," and they provided you the bare bottom or whatever sales promotion they needed for themselves. So you're underinsured, um, or you could be overinsured and paying too much. But the majority of the time, people are underinsured. So there's you have the base policy, and I'll give you a perfect example for Philadelphia that I see is a majority of the houses in Philadelphia have a flat roof. And if you have a basic policy, if you don't have upgraded policy, or what we call a deluxe policy, your flat roof is not going to be covered. And those flat roofs are rubber. So eventually the water is going to end up migrating into the house, and you're going to have stains on your ceilings, and it's going to need to be fixed. And I would say eight times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10, because they have the bare bones policy, it's not going to be covered. And those repairs are going to be on your own. So that's why it's important when you set your policy up that you discuss those things, and or you have somebody review your policy to make sure that you are insured for what you need.
In terms of like roofs, about a year and a half ago, I actually had a client that was a roofer.
Hmm.
So I worked in house with him. And so I was there day to day, looking at his extended warranties that he wrote up himself. They were like 20-year, 15-year. I don't know if they had any validity to them, but how would you know if they are official extended warranties? And does that play a part in public adjusting or policies?
Yeah, absolutely. In New Jersey, you have more of what they call an A-shaped roof. So, what's important as a public adjuster and as a homeowner or business owner, it's extremely important that you always have your work done by somebody licensed, because the license is the professional and their word is the end all be all of the situation. So, you know, your friend can be a roofer, but they're not licensed. That warranty is really not going to come into play in the insurance world. Everything, if I bring someone out, a plumber, an electrician, they all have to be licensed. And if the people are licensed, then the quality of their work is going to be, that's when the roof warranty is going to come in. The roof that they purchase, the shingles that they purchase, is going to have a warranty with it. And also with that, especially in New Jersey, there's code. And in your policy, you have something called ordinate law and ordinance. And that means, if you live in Deptford, New Jersey, they have a particular way that they want the roof to be done with quarter-inch plywood or a particular type of shingles. So even if the insurance company is not, you got it done by somebody licensed, there was a loss there, and your plywood isn't correct, it has to be rated. And you want to make sure you have, you review that in your policy, that you have code upgrade. But even without the code upgrade, you have law and ordinance. So you would send the township out there, and there's a particular way it has to be done. And the city hall or your local township is almost always going to beat the insurance company. Um, they're not going to lose against the insurance company. So as if my main point here is, get your stuff done by somebody licensed, and make sure they pull a permit, because that way it's going to be done by the township's way that needs to be done. And the insurance, I would recommend, if you're buying a home, to speak to a public adjuster so that we can go over your homeowner's policy, so that from the very beginning you have peace of mind of, you have a policy that's you're going to be covered for in your new home. And I would also recommend, after the first 90 days, have that public adjuster come back out again and just do another inspection to see how things are, and to review your policy, and make sure it's continuing to work for you.
Understood. That was a wealth of information. I think there is a long list, of things that new homeowners, have to do. I know that many think that once you get inside the house and you close, that their work is done and over. But I think that there's so much more homework that needs to be done after the closing, appraisals and things like that, which I know are in, the process before that. But just making sure that you secure yourself, make sure that you have everything covered, the insurance. I find that even when people buy cars, they tend to get full coverage to leave the lot and then drop it to liability. And then that's why
Mhm.
you see everybody riding around with hanging grills and bumpers and
Yes.
mismatched colored doors.
Yes. I'll give you another example. And for basements, especially in New Jersey, but also in Pennsylvania, is, and this is what you call an endorsement. So this is something extra that you add on your insurance policy, are endorsements. And there's a lot of different endorsements. If you have a basement and you have a sump pump, that might only be $5 extra for the year, no more than $50, but it's normally about $5 or $10, maybe 25 for the entire year. And it fails. So if you get water into your basement and the sub pump doesn't work and you don't have that insurance, you're not going to be covered. That's it. It's closed case. It's closed case. But for $50 a year, now not only are you covered, and anything that you have in that basement, you're going to it's going to be replaced, and if it's finished, you're going to get all that rebuilt. So it's a small things like that, something $5 to $50 a year, is going to make tens and thousands of dollar difference if there's a loss.
Understood. Are you allowed to customize your policy, or is the uh, insurer actually doing a like copy and paste thing?
I highly recommend you customize your policy. I highly recommend it. I worked in call centers for years, so I understand that when you call into any call center, any business, that person on the line has some type of quota or goal that they're looking to accomplish. And that's been set up by the executives of the company for what policy they want to push or which sales product. So that's what you're going to end up getting. Whatever flavor of the month that they're looking to push, that's what you're going to get. And with insurance, normally when you're on the phone with them, there's really no pushback. There's not a lot of questions being asked. So you always want to ask questions, and you also want to let them know the type of home you have, and cater that to your home. So you definitely want to customize it. That's very, very, very important.
I totally agree. I think with anything, you definitely had to do your research. And I know we had these phones that's like $1,000 to $1,200. We definitely have to put them to use with the things that we find necessary. I know at times we use social media, for any and everything. And yes, they are valuable, but Google has a way to connect you with a wealth of information that you can use. Do you feel that if someone was, to research questions or potential questions that they should ask the insurer, it would be?
Yes, extremely helpful. I will be honest though, it is not a lot of information out there. Even for me, even when I was getting started, um, trying to understand the breakdown of a public adjuster, was very limited information. Um, so the really only way I found out a lot of stuff was going to different public adjusters' websites, and reading the FAQ and reading the facts, and going over reading over policies, um, because the and insurance companies are some of the wealthiest companies in the world. They have commercials, and they have these slogans, and they make you feel like they have your best interest in heart, but they have their best bottom line at heart. And every homeowner's policy or business policy is by law, the insurance company has to have 5 times the amount of your policy in reserves. That's law. So they have 5 times the amount of every single person's policy in reserves, and that money sits in the bank and collects interest. So they're extremely wealthy. And you know, so they control the narrative on TV and on the internet as far as, what they want to push and the narrative. So you really have to do your due diligence. You really have to ask the right questions, look over your policy, and ask people. You have to do your due diligence.
What's usually the time frame that people can expect to receive the money after there has deemed to be a loss? People want to be paid quickly. But is there a long wait? Can it be a quick turnover? Can you explain?
It's case by case, and it depends on what the type of loss is. If you have a total loss fire, what should happen is the insurance company should come out and provide you an advance immediately. Even on site, they should provide you some type of advance so you can start to get yourself together. Um, um, Majority of losses, it's going to take some time, and that's what my role is to represent you and to hold the carrier accountable. And there's certain deadlines that they have to answer me. Um, so it depends on what the loss is, but they normally they don't want to pay you. So it's a process to get your money, and sometimes they'll come out and they'll just provide you a small amount and then fight you for the rest of it. So but if you have a loss, I would say you're probably going to wait at least 2 to 3 weeks before you see anything minimum. And
Mm.
if you have a mortgage on your house, and depending on the amount of the money, because your mortgage company has an interest in your home because they're on the deed, um, their name might be on there, and now the check has to go to them. They may send somebody out to see if the work was done or not, and there's going to be contractor forms that have to be filled out, and they're going to hold the money an extra 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer. So it can take a while, and that's why it's important to have somebody fighting on your behalf.
It does seem stressful. Definitely. I
Hmm.
mean, I know it's stressful enough, probably like if your house burned up or all your things flood in the basement, especially because I know in Philadelphia, a lot of people keep a lot of things in their, basements as opposed to their attics, depending
Yes.
on, what type of house you have. Being as though that you said that you're a serial entrepreneur, which I'm sure that you probably, are used to this entrepreneur life and probably would not be interested in going back to work for someone else. What advice would you have for new business owners or someone that's on the fence with starting a business?
I would say, my the keys that have made me successful so far are my network of people. Um, the people that I have around me help me and support me a lot. And that's been the only way I would have made it in this industry, is having people help me and to let me not go down the same road that they went down and learn the hard lessons, and me being able to listen. um, that's been very valuable. So I think it's really the people that you align yourself with. um, Another thing that I think that's helped me be successful is that I look for, and this is what basically a definition of an entrepreneur is, I look for opportunities to make money, and I try to fill in the gap. So as a public adjuster, I know that there are mitigation companies, plumbers, contractors, and they do their independent discipline. A plumber comes out, he fixes the plumber issue, or she fixes the plumbing issue, and then they're done. What I try to do is connect them to a mitigation crew to get the house cleaned up, and then also to get their house put back together. I might find a contractor as well. So now there's three different disciplines that I've helped. So now they're going to help me in return. When they have a job, they're going to bring me in, and that's been extremely helpful for me, is that I bring them business by filling in gaps. I help the customer, and I'm also helping them get business. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. So once again, the people that I've been around, um, and also just knowing my craft, um, making sure that I'm licensed, that I'm insured, that I'm bonded. so that I know that I'm doing everything on the up and up and there's no roadblocks there. And I also don't, and I got this advice from my mentor again the other day, is that expand myself into what I'm doing already. So I'm a public adjuster, but I also am licensed to test for asbestos. So every public, every contractor, if a house predates 1980, it should be tested for asbestos. You can't expose people to asbestos. So that's something else that I'm helping other public adjusters do, or other contractors or other mitigation companies that I'm already working with. And, it's just another stream of income that helps me, um, floats me between a public adjusting job as well.
Understood. You know what? You've been giving game this entire interview. You gave a wealth of knowledge. I learned so much about insurance that I had no idea about. I think I had a very basic and general perception of insurance and knowledge about it. I think, it's almost on the same lines of credit. You don't really hear about insurance. I think as you become an adult, you start to hear terms thrown around, but people don't really go into detail. Like even if it's your first car, unless you go with your parent who may still have a general knowledge, unless that's their, field or they like doing the research, they usually say, hey, you better get insurance, you better get full coverage. And I'm saying that to say that, you seem very skilled in what you do, very well spoken. How did you well verse yourself on the housing market, and what could one do to become a public adjuster?
Okay. Um, it's a good question. I just made sure I submerged myself into it and surrounded myself with people in different disciplines. So realtors, like I said, plumbers, contractors, mitigation companies, and I'm doing it even more now. But I'm sticking around to see exactly what they do and what their job function is, and how they are the best at what they do, because that's just going to help me and to learn more and to learn their disciplines, because I'm fixing those issues and I'm making sure those issues are correct. So being around the people that are doing whatever you're doing, and to form a circle and complete that, and to really try to have a good understanding of what they do. If you'd like to be a public adjuster, you basically have to study for a test. You have to take a test. I believe now, due to everything that's going on, you can take the test online. I had to go um, to a particular location and take a test, and the test has, I believe, 70 questions on there. I will be honest, the material is going to be foreign, because no one ever really sits down and studies insurance. But you have to learn the basics of the state laws and regulations. That's the first part of it. What's specific to Philadelphia and what's specific to New Jersey, or any particular state. And then you learn the basics of commercial policies for business and the basics of homeowners policies. And they normally go, A, B, C, and D, and what are covered under each A: dwelling, B, C, and D. And you have to understand those. And once you do, you take your test. And once you pass your test, you have to get licensed. You have to get bonded in case something happens. You have to pay your bond yearly. Every 2 years, you have to renew your license. You also have to have so many hours of credits to renew that license as well. So it's continuing education, and there are different classes you can take for that. So you can go, if you want to take the test or practice for the test, I should say, you can go to the website is insurance-schools.com. And for any state that you want to study for the test, that will prepare you. And then from there, you go to the state website under public adjusting or insurance, and that's where you can set up your test.
Okay, so if you are interested in becoming a public adjuster or looking to do a career change, definitely go research that information. Les gave y'all the scoop, so y'all can definitely take that information and put it to use. So Les, before I, have you tell the people where they can find you and be able to use your services, I always close with this question. Name a time that you've been on the fence about something or on the fence about business.
Okay. Um, it's a lot of stories for that. As a public adjuster, and you asked this question earlier, how fast do you get paid? Like I said before, I don't get paid until the client gets paid. So when you first start out, there's going to be, a good 2 to 3 months before you see any money. And, you're basically, doing the customer service. You're continuing to talk to the insurance companies. You might work with contractors or mitigation companies. They want to be paid as well. So that is the first few months are hard because you're not getting paid basically. And you have to be at your best because you have to do your best in order to get paid. Um, so, at first, when I first started, I didn't really have any leads either. So I didn't even know where I was going to get the leads from. And I would just pick neighborhoods and I would knock on every single door. And I would go back the next day. And then I would go back the next day. And I had flyers made, I had door hangers made. And for the first few months, I just grinded it out and I knocked on so many doors and I did not like it. But I figured if I could do the hardest part now, I would be good to go after that. And eventually the phone calls started coming in, and after the first few months, then the checks started rolling in, and if you, I did a good job, and I continued to get referrals, and I would just continue to build up my portfolio, and then the ball got rolling. But the first few months was very difficult for me. A lot of door knocking and a lot of no checks. So that was definitely on the fence of I need a job and I need money. But I stood in there. I was strong, and I made it through. So I made it on the other side.
Do you think that that paid off in the end? Like, do you regret your decision?
Not at all. No, I couldn't see it any other way. Um, because even knocking on the doors, I still get calls to this day, and that was over a year ago. And I still get calls from knocking on the door because people remembered, seeing me in the rain, and it's led to multiple other jobs from people. Sometimes I might get 3 or 4 jobs from a family or from people. So no, it built up my business acumen, and it taught me the tough parts, and provides me an appreciation for it now. So no, I'm glad I'm glad I started that way, and I'm glad able to continue to push through and and to make it now. Yeah, I was happy it happened that way.
Less being as though that you don't use a lot of social media campaigning and lives. Do you find that there has been a void or in your business without using what's popular?
I did, besides the door knocking, I did a lot of Instagram and Facebook and did Google ads. And what I found was that I was dealing with a client that was not educated on what I did. And that made it a little more difficult, because the expectations, no matter how much I told them, if they see a check for X amount of money, they want that check. Or they may not understand why this is taking so long, even though I try to prepare them for that. So the clients that I was dealing with, it was difficult because they didn't really understand what a public adjuster did or what they should do in a claim. So compare that to a plumber providing me a referral. The plumber has already fixed their job. The client is happy with that. The plumber recommends I can have somebody provide you money to get this situation fixed now, even though you've already paid me. So of course they're sold on that. They see that the plumber's done a good job. So the plumber sells me instead of me having to necessarily completely sell myself. And they already have gone through the experience with the plumber or any other discipline. So that makes me coming into the role a different type of expectation, as this person is trusted and they're going to get the job done just like the previous person. And that's made it a lot easier for me.
All right. I want you to tell the people where they can find you. You gave so much information that usually people make you pay for nowadays. You have these gurus and they send you through all these hoops, make you buy all these courses, and don't want to provide the information to you at little to no cost or for free to be able to protect yourself and protect your family. So please let them know how they can find you and how they can, connect with.
Okay, you can reach me. My website is eliteclaimsadjuster.com. That's claims with a S. So eliteclaimsadjuster.com. You can also give me a call at 856-437-04. If I don't answer, just leave a message stating that you need help with a claim, or you would like me to go over your policy, or maybe come out and take a look at a situation you have at your home. I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and I'm just happy that there's a platform for this, because all of your topics are going to be important, and there's a lot of new entrepreneurs out there, and we need to have people that support us, and we need to have a home or and a community where we can go to. So I appreciate you doing this.
No problem.